All right, how is everybody doing? We will be going over the latest that we know for Charlie Kirk's incident. This is September 13th at 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Can everybody hear me fine? So what we're going to be doing in this episode is we're going to be going over the affidavit of probable cause that was written by Mr. Davis of Washington County in Utah. And that will be going over inmate 460956, known as Tyler Robinson. We will also be going over what images there are, why there's some people saying there's confusion of, hey, it doesn't look like them and things like that. We'll be going over that into detail. We'll also be going over stuff like this too, where some people say he dressed up as our president, and going over that, making corrections to that. We'll be sitting here showing you why the FBI knows that this gentleman is the one without him saying that he's guilty, without his father saying it. So we'll be going over all of these things here. All right, so let's start with this, okay? So this is a thing that a lot of people are confused by. They're going off of what some creators are saying, and they're saying it incorrectly. They make it out that Tyler is dressed up as our president, and it's not. It's a type of mockery type deal, okay? Now this image, I can't remember exactly when it was taken, but this was a while back. We will be going over other things as well, how they're in the last 2 years, and this is in the affidavit, that in the last 2 years of how Tyler has been done. Correct. It's quite the opposite. So the next thing we need to address, a lot of people are saying that this is causing a lot of people for confusion. And a lot of people are thinking like, oh man, he looks totally different. It's because a lot of people thought that they could go into artificial intelligence with ChatGPT and other things and say, hey, can you take this picture on the left and can you make it better looking so that we can see what this guy looks like? Well, what AI does is it basically looks at missing holes and it just fills it in with whatever. So it's not like how you see in movies for when they use a computer software that takes grain away. It's something very different. So imagine, if you will, if you had a dark spot and you were like, hey, I'm just going to throw a random color on this so it looks like it's something. So that's why you see the differences here. So the one on the left is the original image. And you noticed how this one, noticed how it made the flag and everything like very different than what the shirt is. So that's a clue to let you know what AI does. So here's another one, okay? You can look at the shirt, you can see it's different. It made the glasses look different. It even, sits here and adds different, to look at the backpack and everything. So it just makes it different looking, okay? So with adding things that is not even correct at all. It just is like, okay, this is a human face. I'm going to go with whatever it feels like. So that's why you have 3 different types of flag. Of course it is. Why in the world do they do that? Hold on. Can y'all hear me now? All right. Am I back? All right. So I'm back. Okay. So what I was getting at is on this is that these three are just AI enhanced, and the one on the left is the original one. AI sits here and makes this into, just filling in blanks with whatever it feels like. That's what it does. Okay. So, now you can sit here and tell people when they sit here and say, oh, I think it's someone else because it doesn't look like them. Well, which image are you looking at? Which one are you comparing it to? Now you can tell people when they sit here and say, hey, he's a MAGA supporter, now you can sit here and say, hold on a second. The whole entire picture is this. It's not that he actually dressed up as Trump as his hero. Okay. So, and I'm going to talk you through how we know that, it's him without him even giving a confession. So what we're going to do, we're going to go through the affidavit. I will stop through the affidavit and I will give you, videos to tie in with it as well. Okay. So let's start off with the affidavit right here. And you can pull this up yourself. I forget what the case number is. I'll end up putting it into the comments, when I leave. But yeah. But this is something that is public information. Okay. I'm going to sit here and just move Charlie's image off to the side a little bit so y'all can see. Give me just a second. There you go. So, all right. So we have 3 charges here. Now you can't see my mouse because of how the software works, but you have 3 charges there, and those 3 charges there can be more charges added. It's something like within 3 or 5 days. So don't get hung up to if you end up seeing more charges, okay? Yes, too slick ass, does Utah have the death penalty? They do. They have 3 different types. They have lethal injection. If lethal injection is not available, then they have the firing squad. Or if he elects to use that. Now, one thing before we get into this, if he goes and takes a plea deal, okay, and let's say he takes a plea deal that's life in prison, I want you to know how his life will be. He will never go to general public. And the reason why he'll never go to general public more than likely is because there will be people that will be licking their chops because they know that they'll be able to get talked about for doing something to him. So he more than likely is never going to see the light of day of general population. It's also going to be more severe than what even Brian Koberger is, okay? So, and the reason being is because he mentioned that he wanted to delete himself. So that's why you see him wearing the type of vest that he was. So he's going to be that way. There'll be a lot of times that he'll be wearing a mesh mask on him. He'll basically be like he's on a leash. He'll be only given 15 minutes of daylight for like once every 3 days. It's a very, very harsh thing. It's not like he'll be able to go play video games or watch TVs and things like that. There is very, very limited stuff that he's allowed to do. Not like he's going to be given internet access or any of that type of stuff that you see some of these other inmates do. For instance, like Wade, the gentleman down in Florida who took people's lives or took those women's lives. It's not like you're going to be seeing videos like that because he's not going to be allowed access to that. So where can you find this? So you can go to Utah State, Washington County, and you can pull this up. I'm trying to think what the exact code is. I'm rattling this off in my brain, but I think it's in, hold on, I'll write this down. NWEPC 189904. I think that's it. Don't hold me to it, okay? I will show you that this is the inmate number right here is 460956. You also have the booking agency, which is Utah Thomas 0250000, and the probable cause is 18994. These are things that you can use to find this on your own. Also, there'll be things updated like once a week that you will end up seeing as more stuff comes along. You know, for instance, when they interview people, there will be eventually added in, or what the judge says on things. Once that starts getting going, you will be able to go to their website and pull up information and see what all comes up. Brian Davis is the one who wrote this up, okay? He's sworn officer, attorney general there, okay? So let's go through this whole entire affidavit here. So this is long, okay? Miss Jackson, it can be escalated up to that. We'll see if it gets escalated. They have like 3 or 5 days. Okay, the lags again. Okay, we'll wait until the lag's gone. Okay. I'm surprised that it's lagging. Okay, no lag for you. Awesome. All right, let's go on with this. All right, so we have the 3 charges there. We now have, I believe this is Brian Davis writing this, okay? He says, and this is the affidavit of probable cause. It says, I believe there is a probable cause to charge the defendant with these 3 charges, or with these charges, because the following information was obtained by your affidavit from police officers. Multiple video recordings posted on social media websites, Utah Valley University campus surveillance cameras, and those who witnessed the incident. On September 10th, Charles James Kirk was at the Utah Valley University campus in Orem, Utah for a political event. Mr. Kirk is a conservative political activist who was scheduled to speak at the event. Yeah, I can make this a little bigger for y'all. So y'all can read along with me if you're wanting to. The courtyard area, hold on. Mr. Kirk is a conservative political activist who was scheduled to speak at the event at the courtyard area on the UVU campus. The courtyard area is to the west of the Luce Center building. According to video recordings, Charles was wearing a white t-shirt and dark pants sitting under a white canopy in a courtyard of the campus facing to the east. The event was attended by hundreds of individuals. Now, one thing I'm taking a pause on, some people said that there was like 1,000 there. Other reports said there was 3,000. Just throwing that out there, okay? Now, it goes on to say Charles was surrounded by people with multiple individuals to his left, right, and rear and front of the canopy. Behind the canopy was a walkway used for access to various parts of the university. Charles was holding a microphone and speaking to the crowd. While speaking into the microphone, a loud gunshot was heard at approximately 12:23, and Charles appeared to have been hit in the neck. It goes into a little graphic. We'll call this ketchup. Red was seen coming out of the left side of his neck as he fell over to his left. Charles was transported to the, I'm going to butcher this word, but Timpan-Ojas Regional Hospital in Orem. Charles was pronounced deceased at the hospital. Investigators reviewed the Utah Valley University surveillance cameras. While reviewing the surveillance cameras, investigators observed the individual on the rooftop of the Luce Center building on the UVU campus at the time of the shooting. Hereafter, the unidentified individual will be referred to as suspect. Okay? Now, this has already been reacted because they said him by name in the first with calling him Tyler Robinson, and then said he'll be referred to as suspect. This is what you're always going to see. So don't get it confused when you go to hear other people talk about this, or people who don't understand how to, that they've never read an affidavit before. Do understand that they refer to the person as suspect. They won't call them by their name. They make that title, okay? So it goes on to say, based on surveillance camera footage, suspect appears to be a white male with dark colored hair, wearing a dark colored hat, sunglasses, a long sleeve black shirt with a picture of an American flag and an eagle printed on the shirt. Dark colored jeans and white gray shoes with white colored shoelaces. The shoes appear to be consistent with Chuck Taylor Converse style shoes. Suspect is also carrying a dark colored backpack on his back. Suspect walks with a distinctive gait prior to the shooting. Now, there's videos that I'm going to go through that line all this up for you, okay? Suspect appears to walk with a stiff right leg and a relatively slow pace. Suspect's ability to bend his right leg appears to be restricted. Investigators were able to track suspect's movements on the UVU campus starting at 11:50 hours. Now, want you to know they tracked his movement. However, you're going to see later on in this report, okay, that he was he came by there at like almost 9 o'clock in the morning, okay, driving by, and it was in his gray Challenger, okay? We'll get into that at the end. Vegas just asked, but didn't they stop him? No, there was no stop. This is why I am doing this, so everybody can understand what is factual information and, you know, stop getting consumed with misinformation. So now let me show some things, okay, to y'all, okay? So right here, you can see someone running across right here, okay? Okay, so this is one of the things that they use, being like, okay, that's someone on the rooftop. Here's another thing, okay? This is when they're running off the roof. They come here. You see they have something that's wrapped, okay? That's he wrapped the 30-06, okay, is what he did. And when he fell here, his shoes made an imprint on the ground, okay? And that imprint, and this is in the affidavit later on, so I'm doing some spoilers for you, that let them know that, hey, this is the same guy that lines up in the other stuff. The other thing is when he hits and he turns, now you can't see this, but they've got, better feeds. But when he turns right here, you can see a white emblem on his chest, which lines up with the other stuff. So they know that he was on the roof, and it's the person who lines up that was walking around, okay? Now, the other thing is this. This was prior to the incident. I'm going to back this up, okay? So here comes in the suspect walking through a neighborhood. Now, this is on a Ring camera, and you will notice this is what we were just talking about. There's that limp type walk that's going through. Now, this happens before, and the footage continues on like this, okay, of showing how he's limping. Now, there's an image of him going up the stairs to where halfway on his thigh, all the way up to his shoulder, you can tell that there's a weapon there. You can actually see the stock. Now, this image that you just seen for it flipping over, okay, this was after the shooting, and he comes running across. He no longer has that limp. Okay, so watch. He's going to go running back there, okay? And then he comes popping out here, and he's moving across. There's no longer a limp, okay? Now, that lines with where they ended up finding the 30-06, okay? So he was not... So... Got to stop with this whole entire he's Republican and stuff, okay? I just went over this, so don't worry, you can go back, okay? There's no thing of where he was that he was dressing up as Trump, as, like he liked Trump. It wasn't like that. Let me show you the image, okay? So there you go. So I'm not going to continue doing this, just if anybody wants to see. I'm going to sit here and say, watch this when I go to upload it on YouTube later this evening. Okay? So let's now go back to this. At approximately 11:50 hours, a UVU surveillance camera first captured the suspect walking across a grassy area north of Campus Drive. At approximately 800 West, suspect walked south through the parking lot and approached a pedestrian tunnel that runs underneath Campus Drive. Before entering the tunnel, suspect paused at the top of the stairs and pulled out what appeared to be a cell phone from his right pocket, using his right hand at approximately 11:53. So 3 minutes took him to get to the top. It looks like he's answering a cell phone or making a call, something of that nature is what they're alluding to. Suspect eventually put what appeared to be a cell phone back in his right pants pocket using his right hand. So, and then the surveillance captured the suspect making his way to the Louvre Center. Now, this is all important because if this lines up to his cell phone GPS, when they go to look in that, this is just more evidence for them to know that they have the right person, okay? They will also use that GPS to see if he went through that neighborhood, also what time he first got to UVU and things like that. They'll do triangulation. I think a lot of people are familiar with that. So, yeah, we'll get into the ballistic sounds and all that if we want to. So let's continue on. All right, so now at approximately 12:02, okay, suspect was recorded walking to the north side of the Loose Center building, walking with the same gait as observed earlier in that video that I showed y'all. Suspect entered the Loose Center building through a set of doors on the southeast corner of the Loose Center. I'll make that big so y'all can read along. At approximately 12:15, the suspect was observed walking up the stairs that led to the common area adjacent to the Loose Center building. Suspect walked to a short concrete wall that separates the common area from the rooftop of the Loose Center building. At approximately 12:17, suspect climbed over Loose Center building. At approximately 12:17, suspect climbed over lag. Lag. Okay, everybody able to hear me now? Testing 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it's lagging. Lost sound. Oh no. Okay. So let's, good? All right, everything good now? Okay, so let me step back. At approximately 12:17, the suspect climbed over the short wall and appeared to crouch down on the north side of the wall on the rooftop. At approximately 12:22, the suspect stood up and started running across the rooftop of the Loose Center building. Now, there is video out there of a gentleman on the ground looking up at the rooftop, and you can see him sprinting across the top. Now, I'm going to tell you, if you ever see something that you question, please alert the authorities. Don't take it as someone else will. Make sure that you tell somebody if you see something that's suspicious to you. It doesn't matter if it ends up being SWAT. Okay? It is much better safe than sorry. Okay? So I definitely want you to know that. So if you're ever in a situation, whatever it may be, and if you scream out, hey, someone call 911, the chance of it happening is slim. But if you actually looked at somebody and you said, hey, you go call 911, the likelihood of that happening is a very good, solid chance. So again, if you see something suspicious, someone running across rooftop, or someone that's, walking strange and things like that, go tell the authorities. Doesn't matter if they end up being cleaned and it's like, hey, this is fine. Better safe than sorry, right? Because I hate it for that kid that ended up seeing the suspect run across the top of the roof, and, he didn't do anything. However, that was all within 1 minute, okay? All right, so now at approximately 12:23, Charlie Kirk, or hold on, let's see, there was something else in this. The rooftop of the Loose Building Center building overlooks the courtyard area where the event featuring Charlie Kirk was taking place. The Loose Center building is east of the courtyard area, which is where the tent was facing, remember? At approximately 12:23 hours, Charlie Kirk was shot. At approximately 12:23, surveillance shows that the suspect stood up suddenly from the edge of the rooftop and sprinted north of the rooftop of the Loose Center building. Suspect ran to the northeast corner of the Loose Center building and approached the edge of the rooftop. Suspect placed a dark colored item on the rooftop and proceeded to lower himself off the rooftop. Suspect dropped off of the rooftop onto the grass below. Suspect ran north near the parking lot of the east of the loose center. So again, let me show you this, okay? This is where he's running across. This is where he drops, and he makes an imprint with the shoe down here. That's consistent with the Converse Taylor shoes. No, I didn't just begin. I've been at this now for 30 minutes, but don't worry, I'll end up putting this up on YouTube, okay? So now let's go back to this. Suspect dropped off the rooftop onto the grass. Suspect ran north near the parking lot to the east of the loose center. At approximately 12:24 hours, suspect ran north across the campus drive road. Suspect appeared to be carrying an item whose identity is not clear from the surveillance. The area to the north of the campus drive road where suspect crossed over consists of a grassy area with trees on the edge of the UVU campus. Investigators discovered a bolt-action rifle wrapped in a dark-colored towel. Let me go back to this. Oh yeah, this is it. Let me go back to this, okay? You see that right there? In his hands, he's putting down that. So they know that, hey, there's something that's wrapped up here. Oh, hey, we just went to the woods and we just found a 30-06 that's wrapped up, you know? And then later on, spoiler alert, when he goes back through the neighborhood that he came from before, you notice that he no longer has that limp like he did early in the day, okay? So he is literally just walking by with ease now, okay? Don't worry that you're late. I'm going to end up uploading this to YouTube, okay? Also, again, these are things, they tie in together. They see that he's worn these shoes before. They see that the suspect that's coming up these stairs at UVU has the exact same shoe. So there's a lot here that's like, man, we know who this guy is. There's no question to it. Like, here is where you can tell that he's got something in his clothes. So you can see the stock right here, you know, halfway up his right leg. And then you can make it out coming up his right side, okay? No, he wasn't faking the limp at the beginning. In the beginning, he was carrying the rifle, and that's what gave him the limp. After, he was on the rooftop, and he wrapped it up, as you see here, okay? He wrapped it up, came down, and then he went into the woods, and he dropped it in there. And then that's why, after that, he's able to move freely. All right, so the rifle was determined to be a Mauser Model 98, so older version, not something that's new, okay? It's a 30-06 caliber bolt-action rifle. Now, that is very interesting because it will tie up with the sound. Also, you can hear the sound of it, and it lets you know that it, thanks, Matt Mossberg. So the sound lets you know that, hey, this is something that's consistent with 150 yards. Now, for anybody out there, understand that this father was an officer, understand that they went camping and did things like that a lot. And for someone to do slight training, 150 yards is not a big deal, okay? So get it out of your head of thinking that this means it's a professional. You have people in the military that in order to get a check mark, they got to pull off a 500-yard shot, okay? So 150-yard shot is just not that big of a deal. Go ask anybody who's a hunter. Go ask anybody who's just hunted for their first time for a few weeks, and they'll be like, I can pull that shot off. So now, if it was, if this was someone that ends up not having any training at all, yeah, I'm still going to have questions. But if it was cited in, he stole it from his father or someone else, hey, it's not exactly about luck, but I still wouldn't call it a professional. I think that it's just someone who went and trained here and there. You can learn a lot of stuff off of YouTube now. Okay. There's people on YouTube that will show you how to pull off, 500 plus yard shots, if not more, with a 308 and things like that. So it's not like this is the 1950s anymore. Okay. So yeah, there you go. Typical deer hunting setup. Thank you, Matt. All right, so where are we at? The rifle had a scope mounted on the top of it. Investigators noticed inscriptions that had been engraved on the casings found with the rifle. Now, we're going to go into this. Inscriptions on a fire casing read, "Notices bulge OW. Oh, what's this?" All right, so let's go into that first one, okay? This comes from an anime or emoji type character. It's an emotion, okay? It's used to show excitement or surprised. So that's where OWO comes from. So it's not something that's tied in with an organization or anything like that, okay? The next three casings were on the ground. One said, "Hey fascists, catch." Now you can pretty much figure that out, but there is a up arrow symbol, right arrow, and then 3 down arrows. Now that comes from a video game. I can't remember what video game it is, but that comes from a video game. Someone's going to know it in the comments. If you do, please do say it. I forget what game that comes from. There you go. Helldiver 2. Thank you so much, Pixie and SI New York. I appreciate y'all, and Christopher. Thank you, everybody. So that's where the symbol, the arrows come from. Now, the next thing, the next one is Bellasio, okay? Now, that is an old Italian protest partisan song from World War II. It's recently in the Netflix series Money Heist, okay? Its meaning, it's often associated with resistance, rebellion, fighting authority. So writing like this on a casing would suggest that the shooter saw himself as some kind of resistor, a freedom fighter, or was just mocking the idea. Okay? It's pronounced chow. Appreciate it. And then the third casing said, and I'm not going to say the word, but it says, "If you read this, you are G." And then it says LMAO, okay? So that was what was on the casings, okay? Moving forward. So now you understand what the words were on the casings and what they mean. So no longer do you have to yeah, Jane, I can't. So no longer do you have to, get into misinformation and stuff. You know where this means, okay? All right, so moving forward. Investigators interviewed a family member, hold on. Did I move up too fast? Yeah, I did. Okay, sorry. Started at the wrong paragraph. All right. Investigators also discovered a shoe impression on the northeast corner rooftop edge of the loose center building. Okay, so that now ties him in to the northeast corner of the rooftop. This is something that was just added because when I read this off to y'all last night, that part wasn't in there. The shoe impression was located in the vicinity where the suspect climbed down the rooftop. The shoe impression is consistent with the shoe sole characteristics of a Converse Chuck Taylor shoe. So we have several things that tie these shoes now to the rooftop, now to where he hit below, as well as walking on the stairs and everything. So this is... Now, when you see things like this and you have the, so now when you're looking at his old images, you're like, man, this is definitely looking like the guy. So, of inmate 460956. Okay, so now let's continue on. On the evening of September 11th, this is the day after, okay? A family member of Tyler Robinson reached out to a family friend who contacted the Washington County Sheriff's Office with information that Robinson had confessed to them or implied that he had committed the incident. What's interesting is the old version of this said it was his father. But yeah, anyhow, so they have changed this. The information was relayed to the Utah County Sheriff's Office and scene investigator at UVU. This information was also conveyed to the FBI. Investigators reviewed additional video footage from UVU surveillance and identified Robinson arriving on the UVU campus in a gray Dodge Challenger at approximately 8:29 on September 10th, in which he is observed on video in a plain maroon t-shirt, light-colored shorts, a black hat with a white logo, and a light-colored shoes. When encountered in person by investigators in Washington County on September 12th, early morning hours, Robinson was observed in consistent clothing with the surveillance images. So there's so much into this to why you know that you have the right guy. So in the morning, it's different clothing. So now someone just said he wasn't alone. That's you said in your opinion. That's going to be one that's going to be up in the air. Okay. So the ballistics now, that type of stuff hasn't come back yet. So don't know who owned the weapon. So. Now, I won't say they don't have highway footage. We're not aware if they do or don't. In the coming weeks, there's going to be more and more stuff that's going to come along. Okay? So it just takes them time. They want to make sure before they put anything on ink to anything, they want to make sure they get stuff as much factual as possible. So... the gun got off the roof because he came off the roof like that. He had it wrapped up. All right, so investigators interviewed a family member of Robinson. Now, for those who don't know, don't hold me to it, but I think it was pretty much he told his dad, and then his dad called a pastor, and the pastor was what is it? What was the pastor? One of y'all, U.S. Marshal. Thank you, Rice. And so then it just went from there and there and there. Okay. So it was a youth minister. Thank you for the correction on that. Okay. So, but yeah, and so that's how it ended up being reported. Now, also, this is not in here, but I think it is later in here, actually. Well, yeah, I think it is in here. So let's continue on. It says, investigators interviewed a family member of Robinson who stated that Robinson had become more political in recent years. Okay? More political in recent years. The family member referenced a recent incident in which Robinson came to dinner, which was prior to September 10th. And in conversation with another family member, Robinson mentioned Charlie Kirk was coming to UVU. They talked about why they didn't like him and the viewpoints he had. The family member also stated Kirk was full of hate and spreading hate. The family member also confirmed Robinson had a gray Dodge Challenger. Okay. Not that we needed motive, we could pretty much assume what the motive was. So if you know the why and the how, you usually can figure out the who. That's the process. That's the 1 + 2 = 3. Okay? So yes, a family member agreed with him. Don't know who the family member was. So, all right. Investigators identified an individual as the roommate of Robinson. Now, this gets very, very interesting for another piece of clue to tying this in. Investigators interviewed the roommate who stated that his roommate, referring to Robinson, made a joke on Discord. Investigators asked if he would show them the message on Discord. Now, we do know that this roommate is being working with the FBI. Okay? But anyhow, so they asked to see the message. So the roommate opened it and showed several messages to investigators and allowed investigators to take photos of the screen as each message was shown by Robinson's roommate. These photos consisted of various messages, including content of messages between the phone contact named Tyler with an emoji icon and Robinson's roommate's device. And then, okay. The content of these messages included messages, I can't read that. Something with the affirmed with the contact Tyler, stating a need to retrieve a rifle from a drop point, leaving the rifle in a bush, messages related to visually watching the area where a rifle was left, and a message referring to having left the rifle wrapped in a towel. The messages also refer to engraving bullets, also mentioned that he had changed outfits. This is all in the Discord. Okay? So Tyler was ratting himself out. Okay? So this is why the police have this guy. Even if this guy changes up and says that he's not guilty, he's busted. Okay? So, did I spell affidavit wrong? Sorry. Based on the evidence detailed in this statement, I believe there is probable cause that Tyler committed the crimes and aggravated murder by the shooting to Charlie Kirk in a circumstance that put many around him to great death, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so here's another thing. So in in another affidavit, I don't know if it's the one that's prior to this or after this, but it goes into how he stated to his father that, so the father identified him in the pictures and said, "Is this you?" And then he confessed and he told his father that he wanted to delete himself. All right, I'm sure everybody understands what delete is. Don't write the word out, okay? But he wanted to delete himself. So that's why when you see inmate 460956, that's why he's wearing that type of vest, okay, in his images. So what time was he? Yes, the arrest time was 4 a.m. You are correct. I don't know if he has regrets or not. That's going to be, pure speculation, of just my opinion. So, that is Mountain Standard Time. All of this is written in Mountain Standard Time. So, there you go. There's everything. I've went over this. What he was actually dressed up in for Halloween, his shoes. Let's see if there's anything else. Yeah, I went over this. Shirt he's wearing, how it ties in. So, look, I'm here to tell you, I am very confident that they have the right guy. If it was the wrong guy, a lot of this stuff wouldn't make sense. And a lot of this is factual stuff that could be tied together. So now, this comment right here from Techie Girl or Tech Girls saying, he didn't work alone. That's going to be a question. That's going to be investigated. Okay. So because, what do you mean, James Belly? Dude, if you're making a comment like that, you might want to clarify James Belly photography. Like if you're running a professional business, just throwing it out there. Oh, you did a fire job. Dag now. My bad. I thought you were one of those people that was coming. My bad, James. I thought you were one of those. My bad, James. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Chill, bro, right? Oh, man. But yes. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, James. I appreciate you. But yeah, so hands down, this is the right guy. Even if he ends up going to not guilty, they got enough evidence to stack against him. I think he's likely going to, confess to life in prison. It'll be something that's handed out. I do think there is a possibility that the charges can be changed, to capital. That's something that, some of y'all are wondering, like, hey, why is it just aggravated murder? So we'll see. They have, a few days to change things or to add charges or to even remove charges. So premeditated murder. Yeah, there's a lot of things that could be added to this. So, but yeah, so there you go, everybody. Now you know everything of just facts. No conspiracies added in, just straight facts. And so now if you ever see anything that another creator's saying, you can sit here and be like, dude, here's the affidavit. You can read it on your own, or here's an explanation of what he was wearing, for Halloween. here's, all the, ABCs to why it is him in the photos and everything that, adds together. You got shoe prints and all this other stuff. Here's, where some people will say, like, hey, he doesn't look like the person in the images. And it's like, well, what image do you have? And if it's the 3 images on the right, then it's AI images, AI enhanced. It's not AI made the image clearer for us to see on the left. AI just added in stuff. I mean, look, it's a different, AI changed the angle of the person. AI, changed, to the removing the backpack on the second one, to making it on the third one, on the first one, it removed the backpack. Second one, it made it where it was like the shirt was, lifted in the back, doing different sunglasses, even the shirt detail is different on them. So, so it's just how AI works. It's nothing against AI. That's just how AI works. It tries to, make something there. It's not like it's actually clearing it up for you to see it. So, all right, everybody. Well, I definitely appreciate y'all. If you have any questions, feel free to go ahead and ask. I'll hang around for, maybe another 5 minutes or so. So if there's anything that you want to ask, feel free to. Again, if there's anything that you missed, I will be putting this up on YouTube. Okay. So I'll have it up on YouTube later tonight. Give it maybe 3 hours and I'll have it up on there. So there is a couple of times where it lags, but don't worry. I end up pausing enough time to where when it's uploaded on YouTube, it'll be fixed. Thoughts on Ben Shapiro taking Charlie's place? All right. I am so glad that you're asking this question because I really, really want to clear some things up. Number one, Turning Point was not known for being Christian, okay? It was mostly Christians that was in it, but it was known as for being able to engage and talk to college campus kids, okay? That was its main point. Christianity was just something that was a part of it, okay? So here's the thing. Some people are like, well, Ben's a Jew, okay? Yeah, he is. What's Tulsi Gabbard? Isn't Tulsi, isn't she Haiti? Like Tulsi Gabbard has been on Turning Point. So there's many other people. They've had Muslims that are on there, okay? There's some people that work behind the scenes that have no faith at all that are in it. So, adding Ben to the show is not Ben taking over the show. He's just going to be just another seat. When they were showing the show the other night, it may have been last night, they showed that Charlie's seat was empty and the rest of the 3 of them were talking. Okay. So it's not that Ben's taking over it. Also, Ben's comment was that he's never been afraid of going to colleges. He just doesn't do open, conversations, but he will be doing that. So, but what is the other thing? But I'm glad that you asked that because a lot of people need to know what Turning Point is. So looks like I might be lagging again. Will you go over the Trump costume again? Yeah. So this is what he was wearing. This is his brother. What his brother was wearing. This is what Tyler had on. So it's a mockery. It's not him being like, oh man, I'm a Trump supporter. It's not that at all. New Living Translation. Let's go. I heard there was a member of the Democratic Socialist Party. I don't know anything about that. Oh, you heard he was a member of that. I haven't heard that. I do know this. There is news. There is, and I'll end with this point so I don't get kicked off of here. But there is news that is coming out from sources, legit sources, that Tyler had a partner that was transgender. And that person is actually talking to the FBI. It's on New York Post now. Yeah. So, but yeah. So that's a big one. And eventually it will be in documents as well. Okay? So, all right, everybody, I'm going to jump off here with definitely saying that one. So, but I hope everyone has a wonderful, blessed, and amazing day. And I will catch y'all Monday. I will upload this onto YouTube. Give me about 3 hours and I'll get it up. Always do not live in fear, because if you live in fear, you die several times in your life. If you do not live in fear, you only die one time. Take care. God bless. Thanks, everybody. The YouTube is the exact same. WarDeadpool. Bye, everybody. Thank y'all so much.